Well, hormones, when you go through like taking testosterone injections, it's essentially like going through a second puberty, just as an adult. So it's, you get a lot of the same emotional stuff that goes on with that. You get a lot of physical changes, things like your voice deepening, like your voice will crack, things like that. You might get acne, you might get increased body hair, weight gain or muscle gain. These are all different. Everybody's a little different of like what kind of stuff happens to them. Their sex drive might increase.
They make you sit down and like watch a movie. Like, this is what's gonna happen. You gotta be ready. You gotta be ready for all this stuff, and you're just so like pumped about it. You prep yourself for it, and then it's some of the stuff that your body goes through is rough. I started taking hormones, I think it was the 25th of January 2014. So actually this is my 6 month is today. It helps my energy level. It does bring my mood up. Sometimes I can feel a little bit of an up and down, but for the most part it really helps my mood boost as opposed to bring me like get the rage or anything like that. I don't have that. I felt a little bit of a difference in my voice. Nothing dramatic, but a little bit within the first couple months, and a little tiny bit of like something on my, my upper lip, a little bit, but minimal. The last couple months is when it's really been much more dramatic. I felt like I kind of hit a plateau after a couple months, and then this last couple of weeks I've kind of seen a lot more kind of really quick. Probably like within like a half an hour I can feel more energy. It's nothing crazy, but I can feel a little bit more energized than I was before. Yeah, I get hungry. I get hungry real quick. I do subcutaneous instead of intramuscular. That's how I've always done it from the beginning. I did it in the top of my leg. Like a couple weeks ago, I switched to doing it in my stomach instead. And they said, why don't you start with doing it in your leg? Or I think they asked me my preference, and they said normally people will start doing it in your leg. So I did that, and then last time I went to my appointment, we talked about it a little bit, and he said I think that we'd see better and more stable results if we tried to do it in your stomach instead. So we're just trying that to see how that goes.
You have all these physical things changing, you have your emotional changes happening, and then you also, have your socialization through life having to like relearn how to do everything again, because there's some things that you might have been able to get away with when you were perceived to be female, and when you're moving through the world as a man, some of those things aren't acceptable anymore. It's just like all these things that you don't necessarily expect happen, and you just kind of have to relearn everything. It's like being reborn in a way.
Hormones have actually brought me a lot of confidence and got rid of my anxiety and just really mellowed me out.
Hormones make me feel alive, totally alive. Like, I can tell you that I can't ever imagine not having to take my hormones. And I think that I've said to partners and to people that even if the doctors tell me that I'm going to have health problems or these things if I don't stop taking the hormones, I honestly think I'd rather have a shorter life and a quality of life that I have than to remove the hormones from my body and have a longer life.
I think a lot of people won't understand it because I'm on hormones. They're like, well, you're on hormones. Why do you feel both? I haven't really come out about it a lot. I've just, to a couple close friends, I've got support from that. So that's, comforting. I did pellets once, but I guess that doesn't really count. So
What are pellets?
Pellets are these time-released testosterone, basically. Yeah, they're pellets. They're these tiny little things, and they cut open your butt cheek and insert, depending on how many months it's supposed to be, the amount of pellets. But I didn't notice any changes or anything from them, so I just figured they didn't work. So I waited about a year or two, and then I started testosterone shots. I do intramuscular. Some guys do it in their butt or their thigh, and I've seen guys do the back or the side of the thigh. I have a friend that does the side. I do the top, and I don't know, I just like being able to see what I'm doing. I usually feel my shot like 15 minutes after I do it. Changes, I think it really varies on dose and maybe how much estrogen you produce and if you've had a hysterectomy or not. My results have been slower, and then when I had my hysterectomy, I noticed a lot more changes than I had before. I was always anxious and like super depressed, and now I'm just I'm more confident. I'm mellower. I feel really good all the time.
Hormones didn't do the effects that a lot of my friends or people I've talked to. I never had those effects of becoming a bitch. I was always a bitch. I didn't need a hormone to help me. I loved what it did to my body. I loved what it did to my skin. I loved what it did to everything. And about 5 years ago, I had to stop because I didn't have ways of getting it. And medically, they were not wanting me to be on it for some fact that I have breast cancer on both sides of my family, on my mom and my dad's side. So it's very rapid, and they don't want to. They didn't want to induce anything, being that I was, pushing 30. And so I've been off and just recently got back on.
I would love to be able to somehow help transsexuals and transgenders get some kind of specific hormone or hormone regimen made specifically for them instead of having to take supplements, having to take stuff that's made for other, like spironolactone is a diuretic, it's for like different reasons than what we take it for. Testosterone blockers is what we take it for. Progesterone is really helps with the secondary sexual characteristics.
They affect you in many different ways. They affect you in a lot of physical ways and emotional too. You're very, at least in my case, a lot more sensitive to all kinds of emotions, whether it be joy, sadness, frustration, anything. Just emotions seem to affect me more.
For me, I had automatic results almost, so, but I've also had quite a bit of plastic surgery to accompany it. But it does, if you're supposed to transition, then it just makes you feel complete happy, like you're on an antidepressant or something.
I don't have a steady healthcare provider, so I don't have a steady endocrinologist either. So that makes it where I can't get the prescription stuff. So I have to get the non-prescription stuff, and that's what the vials are that you have to deal with, filtering through the glass and all of that. Dangerous stuff. When I had the vials, I didn't my doctor just said, hey, do it this way, and I was like, okay. And you just stick it into the little rubber thing and pull it out, just like a regular vial. This way, one of my girlfriends taught me how to do it after I had to start using hormones from off of the internet. I just go off of what I used to take from the prescription. Girls that don't ever go to a doctor and never get like what they need to be prescribed, that's really getting dangerous, because then you're just total guesswork. When I first got on hormones, back when I was doing it with the vials, I've been shooting it ever since I got on estrogen. I just recently started pills and shooting, like pills on the days I don't shoot. But when I first started, I think it was just the accomplishment of finally getting on them and finally having that source of hormones being fed in my body again. Hormones, for me, first, it was more of an accomplishment thing of just like finally being able to get the hormone that I wanted, that got cut off by the boy hormones, to be back in a steady supply in my body. It wasn't ever like a physical sensation. It's just like a mental thing. It's like, okay, now I'm on my hormones, so yes, now I'm gonna be feminizing and getting my body structure changes, and female fat distribution, and your skin becoming more translucent and soft, of course, and hair, and all the pretty stuff. Once you start getting that, it's like, yeah, it's something great. And I don't want to sound messed up, but if you're a real transsexual, getting that will say, okay, cool. If I have to stick a needle in my leg every fucking week to get to look more like myself over time, hey, whatever. Got to make a sacrifice. I'm completely fucking terrified of needles.